Jean's families, friends, and co-workers. It is an honor and privilege to stand before you today and share 30 years of Jean's accomplishments as a government service employee. Before I begin, let me save you all time from performing any data analysis. Yes, it took Jean 36 years to reach 30 years of service. Speaking on behalf of Naval Health Clinic Patuxent River, we are thankful that Jean spent years 19 through 30 with us. Jean, I know you set a 5-minute time limit, but it is impossible to fit 30 years of awesomeness in 5 minutes. Jean started her GS career as a secretary at Naval Air Station Keflavik in 1989, first in housing before moving to the Exos office. In 1991, Bob was transferred to Jacksonville, and guess what? There was a hiring freeze. Not to be deterred, Jean worked as a legal secretary, rejoining civil service in 1993 at Naval Hospital Jacksonville as a supply clerk and again as a secretary. Although by the mid-90s, the politically correct title was administrative assistant. Despite excelling in these positions, Jean's analytical brain was screened for some exercise, which led to her assuming the role of contracting officer's technical representative. Thankfully, there's an acronym for that. She became a COTAR. While COTAR, Jean was key in developing the National Managed Care Support Contract Surveillance Plan. You'll have to ask Jean what that means. So being a COTAR was fun, fulfilling, but Jean's true calling was out there. Her last position at JAX was as a data analyst. Jean was a plank holder for both the Population Health Committee and Analytical Work Group. She was a pivotal contributor to the revitalization of utilization management, clinical practice guideline implementation, and data-driven clinical resource allocation processes. Then there were thousands of enrollment and registration data quality problems that resulted from the implementation of the National Enrollment Database that Jean helped resolve. And she created the command business plan and balance scorecard. You were an overachiever. So the Lewis family left Jacksonville for Pax River in 2004. Jean decided that Samantha was more important than work and was able to stay home during Sam's middle school years. From 2009 to 2014, Jean returned to Naval Hospital Jacksonville, and boy were they happy to have her back. During her tenure, she worked as the support agreement manager and data analyst. She prepared and tracked up to 110 inter-service and intra-service support agreements. That number alone is impressive, and those of you who have worked on agreements know how complicated that can be and challenging. Not quite as difficult as getting something through Senate, but close. Using her COTAR experience, Jean tracked and inspected services performed by contractors. She also provided data analytics support, verifying data set from higher authority to assist with local staffing and funding decision making. Did you catch the verification of higher authority data? And that still goes on, doesn't it? Finally, Jean and family traveled back to Maryland, and thankfully she joined the staff at Naval Health Clinic Patuxent River as the command data analyst, responsible for the annual 5-year performance planning tools or business plans. Jean designed, implemented, and continually assessed the command business planning tools, engaging department heads of each clinical area throughout the command to provide a live performance business planning presentation to the board of directors monthly. Okay, we have now reached Jean's current position as data quality manager and support agreement manager. Lieutenant Commander Ozanich will share her impact with you in this position. But before I end, let me share the numerous awards that signify the professionalism and commitment to quality that Jean displayed daily. Jean has received 2 Meritorious Civilian Service Awards. She was selected as Senior Civilian of the Quarter in 2015 and 2023. As has had 2 special active performance awards, 3 letters of appreciation, and 1 letter of commendation. As retired military and a civil servant, I feel that I can speak on behalf of all military and civilians at Naval Health Clinic, Pax River. Jean, your impact on Pax River cannot be squished into a 5-minute speech. Kind of assumes. And frankly, it is difficult to put into words. Sorry. Always willing to help and share her knowledge, Jean is the go-to person for civilian affairs and data. You have elevated the command through your calm, no-nonsense manner, positive attitude, quick smile, and laugh. As you end your career, please know that many years down the road, personnel at Pax River will find products of your work and wonder, who was this woman? My friend, I thank you for this opportunity to highlight you and your accomplishments, fair winds and following seas. May our paths cross often. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simoni. Next up, we will hear from Lieutenant Commander Matthew Ozanich, currently at UMed, and Jean's former supervisor here is the Director for Health Business and the Director of Resource Management for Pax River.
Jean, I braved DC traffic for you today. I would do it again. Good afternoon. So I met Jean in October of 2021, and I had the pleasure of working with her for 3 years. Jean, thank you for the vote of confidence to share some words on what you've meant to Navy medicine, to DHA, and to me. So one of the best things that happened to me during my time at Pax River occurred. I was probably still in diapers, to be honest. An HR clerk in Iceland royally screwed up Jean's data service date in the late 80s. Jean was so confident that she was going to retire in 2024. We all but she didn't know this guy was not signing off on anything, probably beyond my authority to do so. But the thought of running Jean's program without Jean was not a pleasant one. Fortunately for me, the service dates were not done right. And I wouldn't use Jean, sorry Cole, I wouldn't use Jean until I had departed. So thank you, Iceland clerk. So this kind of takes me to why Jean is a one-of-one, and she will be irreplaceable, not just at Pax River, but for Department of Defense. But behind every policy decision, behind every data quality statement that left this command with confidence and clarity, Jean was quietly, consistently making sure it was right. Not just that her program was done right, Jean was always making the extra effort to get the command in a better place. Whether that was pioneering MHS Genesis best practices, or advising her director on the right moves for civilian morale development. That level of professional care and attention to detail has shaped the way we operate. And more than that, it's shaped everyone who's had the pleasure of working with Jean. So to be clear and for the record, Jean is the best data quality manager I have ever met. If you ever need a statistic to believe that statement, know that Pax River is and was among the very best performers, not just in the National Capital Region, not just on the East Coast, but the entire military health system on her quality statements, and it was month in and month out. If the command was struggling to close patient encounters, Jean didn't just advise on the best way forward. She pulled up a chair and she collaborated with that provider until the best way forward was found. Within National Capital Region, it was an open secret that data quality managers looking for guidance and advice were told to reach out to Jean. Now to Jean's favorite duties. She was also the support agreement manager. Favorite duties. I said it on many occasions. quite possibly the most thankless job on the planet. As if she didn't have enough as the DQM, as our senior civilian rep for the whole command, she ensured that the recess sharing efforts across the region always reached the finish line. And I had to leave this between Jean and I. Jean, I got a text and an email that the Seabirth MOU has been returned with edits. So in summary, she has embodied a quiet, consistent perfection year in, year out. So despite being an absolute boss at her job, the biggest impact and gap that will never get filled at Pax River is what she has meant to this community. Say what you want about Pax River. I know I said a lot when I received my orders to come here. What keeps us going here, despite the lack of manning and resources and love and care from above, is our connection to one another here. In 3 years, I saw someone stuffing Easter eggs with candy on her lunch breaks, volunteering to help keep the morale and welfare committees upright, and painstakingly making that famous Christmas party happen every year. Jean, thank you for making my family's tour at Pax River special. I can't put into words the importance of that, and I thank you for making this place a duty at home. As you close this chapter and step into the next, filled with relaxation, adventure, and maybe just the joy of not another Genesis movie, know what you have meant to us here. Wishing you the very best on your next journey and hoping we cross paths again in this life. Happy retirement and fair winds and following seas.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Captain Teresita Alston, the Executive Officer for the Naval Health Clinic Patuxent River, Lieutenant Coleman Engstrom, Director for Resources and Healthcare Operations and Comptroller for Naval Health Clinic Patuxent River, who will now present Jean with her End of Tour Award. Ms. Lewis, front and center, please. Attention to award. The Naval Health Clinic Patuxent River awards the certificate to Jean Lewis in recognition of 30 years service in the government of the United States of America. Ms. Lewis is commended for 30